lives together with an If one lives together with an Amaretz in a courtyard and he forgot utensils in the courtyard, even sealed earthenware barrels or sealed earthenware ovens, these are tameh. Rabbi Yehuda rules the oven tahor when it is sealed. Rabbi Yossi says even if the oven is tameh until he makes a partition for it, that is 10 handbreadths high. If one deposits utensils with an Amaretz, they become tameh with corpse tuma, and they become tameh through midras. If he knows that he eats truma, they are tahor from corpse tuma. But if they are tameh through midras, Rabbi Yossi said midras tuma. Rabbi Yossi says if he gave him a chest full of clothes, when the lid presses down on the clothes, they become tameh midras, and if the lid does not press down on the clothes, they become tameh with a light tuma, even if the key is in the owner's hand. If one loses an object during the day and finds it the same day, it is tahor. During the day and he found it during the night and he found it during the day and he found it during the following day, it's tameh. And this is the rule. Whenever the entire night or part of the night passes over it, it is tameh. If one spreads out clothes in the public domain, they are tahor. In the private domain, they are tameh. They are tameh. And if you watch it, and if he was watching them, they are tameh. No, they are tahor. If they fell and he went to bring them, they are tameh. And if a bucket fell into the well of an Amaretz and he went down to bring something with which to raise it, it is tameh since it was left in the domain of the Amaretz for a short time. Okay.
Right. Dalet, hamaniach es beiso pasuach. So he left his house open and came home and found it still open. Or he left it closed and came back and found it still closed. Or he left it open and found it closed. So in the last case, presumably somebody said, "Oh, Fred just left his door open. Let me do him a favor and close it for him." Okay. So in all these cases, everything in the house is tahor. We do not presume that anyone had the chutzpah to walk into his house and start messing with things. However, if he left it closed and came home and found his door open, Rabbi Meir Mitame, he says, you've got evidence over here. Somebody opened the door, and we have to presume that it was a Tameh person who opened it and decided to go poking around in the house, even though you don't see anything missing. Right? If there's no evidence of anyone who's stolen something, still Rabbi Meir says maybe they went in, started poking around, and then got interrupted and had to run. Because you can say that if somebody decided to break into the house, that all they did was they opened the door and then they were disturbed and they ran away from there. So again, the Chachamim are not overly concerned about these things. A general rule, by the way, about Rabbi Meir is that Rabbi Meir is very frequently concerned about minority cases, whereas Chachamim will go with the Rov. Chachamim will go with the majority and say, in most cases, this would not have happened, and therefore we can rely on the majority. Whereas Rabbi Meir is choshesh for miut. He's concerned about minority cases. Okay, hey, Eishes Amaretz. So a woman who's an Amaretz, shenichnas lesoch beiso shel chaver. So she let herself into the house. She was not authorized. She let herself into the house of the chaver, lo tzibano, to get her son out, or bito, or behemto, in order to take out one of the children or take out an animal. These are all just cases where why she's got a reason to go into the house. Kind of a hey chitimta. Why should she be going in if she's not a thief? She had reason to do it, but she wanted to go in, and there was nobody to let her in, but she just wanted to get whatever it was that she needed out the house. The house is nonetheless tahor. Why? Because she went in without permission. And since she went in without permission, she's all very sensitive about the fact that she doesn't want anyone to walk in on her and find, hey, what are you doing in this house? So she's going to be quick to get in and out. If, however, the implication is that if the Baal Bayis said, go in and help yourself to whatever, now she's at home. Now she feels like she can help herself to with things and start moving them around, and then you got to start worrying about what's tameh and what's tahor. Klal amru b'Tohoros. So a general rule that the Chachamim said with Tohoros, kol hamiyuchad le'ochel adam, anything that is normally designated for human food, and it becomes tameh. It's tameh ad sheyipasel me'ochel hakelev, unless the food degrades to the point where even a dog wouldn't eat it. So it retains its tumah. So even if you had a piece of chicken and the piece of chicken became tame, and you just and it stayed in the back of the fridge until it started growing mold and whatever else, and like even if you had to give this to a dog now, they would say, this is not for me. Okay, then that no longer transmits tumah. Okay, but something that is not specifically human food is always tahor la'adam, and unless it is actually designated as human food. Ketzad, let's see a practical example of this. Gozal shenafal legas. So you had a bird, a kosher bird, this is a bird of a kosher species, that fell into the wine press and drowned. Okay, you've got a dead bird in your wine press. Your initial position is that this is not food. It's not. It died by itself. So first of all, it's not kosher. It died without shechita. And your initial position is that this is not food, and therefore it isn't susceptible to food tumah. Even if he says, oh well, it's got a bit of meat on it, let me feed it to my dog. That's still not susceptible to tumah because it's animal food. Okay. So cool. Okay, Tad. Okay, so now what happens if he now if he looked at that and said, look, I mean, it's a perfectly good bird, and I've got my non-Jewish friend who would be very happy to eat this. So let me take it out for him. Now it becomes tameh, because he's now designated it for human consumption. A kelev tahor, but if he thought of taking it out to feed to his dog, it remains tahor. Rabbi Yochanan bin Nuri matameh. He says it is tameh in both cases, because he holds that the nevela of an off tahor does not need machshava at all. He says that this is something that would automatically be thought of as potential food for an ochri. What happens if the person who looks at this dead bird is a cheresh shote or katan? It's the simplest case over here. Let's just talk about a child because it's easiest to find out what the child had in mind. Okay, so the child looks at this thing and says, I looked at that bird and I thought, hey, let me give that to my non-Jewish friend or neighbor. And if he does that, it's tahor. Still tahor. Why? Because we've often seen with cherishot v'katan that they don't have das, but they do have maaseh. So im he'eluhu tameh. So if he picked it up al das kain, he said, let me take that out and I'm gonna give it to my non-Jewish friend. Then it becomes tameh. Sheyesh lehem maaseh v'ein lehem machshava. So we saw that in many other contexts. In kalim, if somebody took a stump of wood and thought it was a chair. Okay, so if it's an adult, a person thinks of a stump of wood and says, okay, that's a chair, immediately it becomes susceptible to tumah as a chair. But if a child thinks of that, no, it's not, unless he actually takes something and carves out a piece of it so it becomes a seat. Okay, so that's the similar thing with a perishot v'katan. All right, let's go. Tohoros hey ches.
Okay. If there's one deranged female in the town, or a Canaanite woman or a female Kupian, all the spittle in the town is tameh. Regarding someone upon whose garments a woman tread, or who sat with him on a boat, if she recognizes him as someone who eats truma, his garments are tahor, but if not, he must ask her. If a single witness says that one was rendered tameh, and the person says I was not rendered tameh, he is deemed tahor. If two witnesses said you were rendered tameh, and he says I was not rendered tameh, Rabbi Reuben tameh, and the come and say he believed through himself. If a single witness says that he was rendered tameh, and two witnesses say that he was not rendered tameh, he is deemed tahor, whether in a private domain or a public domain. If two witnesses say that he was rendered tameh, and a single witness says that he was not rendered tameh, he is deemed tameh, whether in a private domain or public. If a single witness says that he was rendered tameh, and another single witness says that he was not rendered tameh, or if a woman says that he was rendered tameh, and another woman says that he was not rendered tameh, in a private domain he is deemed tameh, in the public domain he is rendered tahor. Okay, all right. Where did I put this? Am I right? No,
One more,
one
one more in Tohoros. So we've got Ches Aleph.
I thought. I'm sorry. Um, hmm, I took the wrong thing, Shaw. I'm sorry. It should be Taros, right? Next one is the Taros.
Yes, have you got two volumes of Tohoros or what?
Maybe I took it out and put it somewhere else. Wait, oh my gosh. Wait a second. Which one should we be on right now?
We should be on Tohoros Ches. Sorry, not Ches. Vav.
Well, Vav Aleph,
Vav Aleph.
because I mixed up. I knew I took it out.
Oh, hold on. But I'm sorry. I'm actually wrong. I'm just looking at the schedule over here. I got it wrong. We actually have finished three Mishnahs over there. So we're starting with Vav Aleph tomorrow. I'm sorry. That's my bad. My bad.
It's over here.
Okay, so let's go back to Para. Uh,
Oh, okay. I knew I took everything out and had it already. So, okay. All right.
oh no, I'm wrong. I am wrong. So just hadn't refreshed my page. We are doing Ches Vav Aleph. Vav Aleph. Let's do it.
Vav Aleph.
Yeah, it is Vav Aleph. Let's do it. So
Wait,
the place that was a Rishus Yachid and became a Rishus Harabim.
come on. This is Vav Aleph. Okay, here it is. That's where I had the thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Regarding a place which was a private domain and it became a public domain and then again became a private domain. When it is a private domain, its tuma uncertainties are ruled tame. When it is a public domain, its tuma uncertainties are ruled tahor. If a terminally ill person was in a private domain and they took him out to a public domain and then returned him to a private domain while he is in the private domain, his tuma uncertainties are ruled tame. While he's in the public domain, his tuma uncertainties are ruled tahor. Reb Shimon says the public domain interrupts. Okay.
Okay.
And that's it.
Nice. Yeah, now Paraches base.
I think my tissues are getting a little worn over here. Okay. Tough space. A person sanctifying the Katos water should not wear shoes because if liquid would fall on one of his shoes, it is contaminated and the shoe contaminates him. Thus, this one says, that which contaminates you cannot contaminate me, yet you can contaminate me. If liquid fell on one's skin, he is tahor. If it fell on his clothes are contaminated and contaminate him. Thus, this one says, that which contaminates you cannot contaminate me, yet you can contaminate me. The person burning the paraduma or the sacrificial bulls that are burned or the one who sends the goat to Azal all contaminate clothes. The paraduma, the sacrificial bulls that are burned, and the he-goat that is sent to Azal themselves do not contaminate clothing. Thus, this one says that which contaminates you cannot contaminate me, yet you can contaminate me. Okay. Olios.
No, there's one more. Ochel Niniv Lasaof.
Concerning one who eats from a carcass of a kosher bird and is still in his throat, he contaminates his clothing. The carcass itself does not contaminate clothes, but thus this one says that which contaminates you cannot contaminate me, yet you can contaminate me.
Okay. Now Olos. Above.
Ava. Okay. How so? If an olive pressing basket was placed on top of a pit or a cistern that is inside a house, the contents of the pit or cistern remains tahor. However, if an olive pressing basket was placed on top of either a well that is level to the floor of the house or a broken basket, the contents of the well or the basket become tummy. On the other hand, if a flat board or a kneading board without sides was placed on top of either a well that is level to the floor or the house or atop a broken basket, the contents remain tahor. This is because utensils combine with the walls of a structure to turn tuma only through when there are walls. How high must the wall be to block tuma? 1 handbreadth. However, if half of a handbreadth is from the wall and the other half of the handbreadth is from the olive dressing basket, it's not considered to be a wall. There's only a wall when one of them is the handbreadth by itself. Just as they can throw tuma when they're inside, so they can throw tuma when they're outside. How so? An olive pressing basket is placed on pegs outside a house. If there is tuma underneath the olive pressing basket, utensils remain inside it remain tahor. If the olive pressing basket is placed on pegs next to the wall of a courtyard or the wall of a garden, it does not curtail tuma. A beam is placed on 2 walls, and a pot is suspended from the beam. And if there is a tuma beneath the beam, utensils inside the pot are removed tahor by Rabbi Akiva, but ruled tummy by the Chachamim. Okay, we are on to Menachos.
No, still one more.
A man and utensils become roofs to convey tuma, but not maintain something that's tahor. How so? 4 people are holding up a slab of stone. If there is tuma below the slab, the utensils on the top of it become tummy. If there is tuma above it, the utensils underneath it become tamei. Rabbi Eliezer declares them tahor. The slab is placed on 4 utensils, even utensils made of dung, stone, or unbaked clay. If there is tuma underneath it, utensils on top become tamei, and if there is tuma above it, the utensils underneath become tamei. The slab is placed on 4 stones or on a living creature, and if there's tuma beneath the slab, the utensils on top of it remain tahor, and if there is a tuma above it, the utensils underneath it remain tahor.
Okay.
And Menachos. Okay, good dollar. They would reap it and place it in baskets and bring it to the temple courtyard, and they would roast it in the fire to fulfill the mitzvah of toasting. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. And they can come and say they beat it with reeds and stalks so that it should not be crushed. And then they would place it in a pipe, which was perforated so that the fire should prevail over all of it. They would spread it out in the courtyard, and the wind would blow on it. They would place it in a grist mill or extract it from an issaron, which was lifted through 13 sieves. The remainder is redeemed and may be eaten by anyone. And if it's subject to kala, it is subject to kala, but exempt from Misa. Rabbi Akiva declares it's subject to kala and to Misa. He approached the issaron and put it in its oil and its frankincense. He then poured in mixed, waved, and brought it near to the altar and performed kamitza and burnt it on the altar. The remainder is eaten by the Kohanim. After the Omer was offered, they would go out and find the marketplace of Yerushalayim full of flour and the flour of untoasted grain, which are against the will of the sages. These are the words of Rav Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says it was in accordance with the will of the sages that he did it, and after the Omer was offered, a new grain was permitted immediately. Those who were distant were permitted from midday and onward, and after the temple was destroyed, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai instituted the entire day of waving should be forbidden. Said Rabbi Yehuda, is it not biblically forbidden as it is stated until this very day? Why are those that are distant permitted from midday and onward? Because they know that the court does not procrastinate with it. Okay.
One more.
Right, the over-offering rendered the new grain permissible to provinces, and the shtei halechem did so in the temple. We do not bring mincha offerings or perform on the mincha offering of an animal prior to the over-offering, and if one brought it, it's invalid. And prior to the shtei halechem, one may not bring it. If he brought it, it is valid. Okay.
Nazir.
Nazir. Okay, Aleph Gimel. Standard Naziris is for 30 days. If he said, I'm a Nazir for 1 large term, or I'm a Nazir for 1 small term, or even from here until the end of the world, he is a Nazir for 30 days. One who says, I'm a Nazir in 1 day, or I'm a Nazir in 1 hour, or I'm a Nazir for 1 term and a half, he is a Nazir for 2 terms. If he says, I'm a Nazir for 30 days and 1 hour, he is a Nazir for 31 days because one cannot extend Naziris by hours. If he says, I'm a Nazir as much as the hair on my head, or as the dust of the earth, or the sand of the sea, or as a Nazir forever, or he shaves his head once every 30 days, Rebbe says this one does not shave his head once every 30 days. One who is the one who shaves his head once every 30 days. One who says, let there be an obligation of Naziris upon me, as much as the hair on my head, or as in the dust of the earth and the sand of the sea. If one says, I'm a Nazir, I'm a Nazir a house full or a box full, we examine him. If he says, I declared 1 large Naziris, he is a Nazir for 30 days. If he says, I declared an unspecified Naziris, we regard the boxes that will be filled with mustard seeds, and he's a Nazir all his days. Okay. And Salah.
Hello.
Okay. Two kavs and a kav of rice or a kav of truma is between. These do not combine. A thing from which its challah has been separated lies in between. They combine since it's already become liable to challah. If a new chav and an old chav bit one another, the Yisrael says, let them take from the middle, but the Chachamim forbid, and if we take challah from a chav, the Akiva says it is challah, but the Chachamim is saying it's not challah. If there were two kavs and challah was taken from each separately, after he joins them into one piece of dough, the Akiva exempts, but the Chachamim declare it liable. Thus, its stringency turns into a leniency.
Okay, and that's it.
I have a quick question for you. This morning,